Good morning. It's Craig Bennett, aka Cash K, here with DFSArmy for another NBA First Look podcast for Saturday, February 6, 2021. This is for the main slate. If you want to watch the early slate, I dropped that a couple hours ago, but this is for the 9-game main slate. I'll be using DraftKings as the backdrop, but I'll talk about FanDuel pricing as well. Go over some injuries, some scenarios, maybe if guys are questionable, who that we should get on, and overall just kind of talk about the slate. And if you like videos like this, appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll just keep knocking out these videos, and I hope that I provide value to you. Let's jump right into the slate and see what we got on tap today. Again, I'm going to be using DraftKings as the backdrop here, but we will talk about FanDuel pricing. First game on tap, it was a back-to-back game. Same teams playing here. We got Chicago at Orlando. Chicago favored by 1, 224.5 or over-under. The big news here on Orlando, first we'll go with the injury news. Lauri Markkanen is doubtful. Otto Porter is out. He was out last night. And Michael Carter Williams is out as well, which he's been out for a while. But the big news, man, you played last night. Basically, it was OKC chalk, and you needed Vooch to win some money. So Vooch is again on this slate as well, 8,900. Again, I think you just slide him right in here in the center position. He's going to be super popular. He put up over 70. The dude couldn't miss. Shot 17 for 29, 77 fantasy points, put up 37 minutes. Now, back to back, are we going to see 37 minutes? I don't think we're going to see that many minutes, but he's still too cheap. And again, another good matchup. Lauri Markkanen's not there. We don't have Carter Jr. The Bulls are even more shorthanded in that front court. So I think it's something that we just go right back to the well here, especially in cash games. You know, in tournaments, if you want to get different, I can understand putting up any guy that's going to put up 77 fantasy points is going to be super chalk the following day. Again, back to back, maybe they have some tired legs, but the matchup's still there for him. He hasn't been priced up that much. You can consider him. Anyone else here on the Orlando side? Fournier is 6,400. Let me stop real quick. On Orlando, Vooch on FanDuel is 8,800. Again, just go right back there. It's again, too good of a spot. Really, the only other guys I want on a 9-game slate on this team is the same characters we talked about yesterday. It's Vooch, it's Evan Fournier, and it's Cole Anthony. You know, they're going to play a bunch of minutes. Cole Anthony's 5,700 on DraftKings. I don't think that's a bad price tag, but $5K on FanDuel is just way too cheap. Some guy you're going to throw right in there. He almost scored 40 fantasy points last night. Again, the Bulls are not a good defensive team. I think they go right back here and just kind of, crushed, really. But Vooch is definitely the first guy you're throwing in your lineups. You're not getting cute there. Like I said, Cole Anthony, I don't mind playing him. We'll go right back to the well on him against Chicago as well. Again, close spread, got some injury news. And then Fournier is more tournament. 6,400 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. He's priced at 6,700. So don't really like that tag on FanDuel. I think Cole Anthony or Vooch are the guys you're looking at, and you're kind of just moving on here. On the Chicago side, things change up a little bit with Lauri Markkanen doubtful and no Otto Porter. Thad Young's going to play a ton of minutes. They don't have Carter Jr., so he's probably going to touch mid-30 minutes. He's been extremely productive in the minutes that he does play. Thad's been just right at 1.08 fantasy points per minute for the season. I think he's going to go a little north of that without these guys. There's really nobody else on the court that they have for big men. I mean, Patrick Williams is going to play a ton. Gafford's going to play a little bit. Gafford's a guy 3,900 on FanDuel, 3,800 on DraftKings. They still got Felicio that can play, but he doesn't do anything when he's out there. As you can see, he will pick up some more minutes, though. I will say that. Temple's been picking up some minutes. He's 4,800 on DraftKings. He's 3,500 on FanDuel. 23 minutes last night. Only shot 20%, put up 23 fantasy points. Better play on FanDuel at 3,500. I like that. Not so much on DraftKings, but a lot of these guys are great plays on FanDuel. The big thing for me is Zach LaVine. I think when Lauri Markkanen came back, it really hurt Zach LaVine's ceiling because those shots just went away, and we didn't see a super aggressive Zach LaVine. Maybe this is a point we see him. He had a good game last night, put up 45 fantasy points, only shot 42% from the field. But again, I think we're going to see a more aggressive Zach LaVine, and we could see a ceiling game out of him. So I like him more with no Lauri Markkanen on the court. I feel better about it. This is a game you want to attack. I don't mind playing Zach LaVine right here as your comeback on this. You're going to want a piece of this game. But Thad Young, even at 6,600 on DraftKings, over on FanDuel, he's 7,100 at center, which on FanDuel, it sucks because you're going to play Vooch over Thad Young. But on DraftKings, it's a different scenario. On DraftKings, 6,600, where there's still meat left on the bone here. I don't mind playing both Levine and Markkanen. I think those are the guys I would look at. And then Patrick Williams, 4,400 on DraftKings, another guy I would look at as well. He should play mid-30s minutes. Been pretty decent production for the year. He's been right at 0.75 fantasy points per minute. If he's going to play 35 minutes, looked pretty good yesterday in spurts. Started off pretty strong, 35 DraftKings points. Again, he kind of does a little bit of everything, so I don't mind throwing him in there. I wouldn't get crazy and play all three together, but I don't mind, like, if you want to come in here and let's say in this particular lineup, let's go Thad Young here, and then on the other forward spot, we'll go Patrick Williams, and we'll kind of just not play Levine, even though I love Levine in this spot with no more Markkanen being doubtful. I'm going to stick with the minutes that we're going to get out of these guys, and again, no problem going Levine, but if I'm going Levine, I'm probably not going to go Thad Young. But Patrick Williams would be the one guy I would pair with one of them. Let's head on over to Toronto at Atlanta. Toronto favored by 4.5, 222.5 over under here. A really good, a really good spot for Toronto going up against Atlanta. News here: OG Anunoby is out still. On the Atlanta side, no DeAndre Hunter. No Bogdanovich, and Trae Young is questionable. Kevin Huerter is probable. So, again, great matchup for Toronto. Van Fleet at 8,400 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he is sitting at 9K. That's pretty expensive for Van Fleet. Not sure we'll get there. Lowry, 8K on DraftKings. He is 8,500 on FanDuel. Again, these guys are pretty priced up. They would be tournaments only for me, but again, they're on a back-to-back as well, so we have to consider that. Norman Powell, 6,800 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. I think if I was going to look at one Toronto guy that I'm comfortable playing that can get there is Norman Powell. With no OG, he gets in that starting lineup. He plays good minutes, played 36 minutes last night, 26 fantasy points. That's why he's more of a FanDuel play at that point at 6,400 against a bad Atlanta team on defense. So that's where I'm looking here. All these other guys are tournaments only. We saw Chris Boucher is actually getting a price point that you can consider him in tournaments too. So I think it's Powell and Boucher for me. The other, like you said, Van Fleet, Siakam, Lowry, all tournament plays, but they're so priced up that I don't think you have to force that in. You're basically picking which one's going to go off last night. Last night it was Siakam. He had a great night. Today it could be Van Fleet. He's the one that kind of stepped back after that monster game. So it could be any one of them in this matchup. So tournaments only. But Chris Boucher at 4,400 on DraftKings, put up 32 fantasy points against Brooklyn. It all comes down to the minutes with him. Nurse gave him 27 minutes. If we can see anything in 20 plus minutes out of him at this price, he can crush it. He's 4,700 over on FanDuel. He's a 1.29 fantasy point per minute kind of guy. So again, you get 20 minutes out of Chris Boucher at this price, he can crush. So tournaments only here, but I don't mind throwing him in a lineup here in tournaments, on DraftKings. I'll throw him in here as we build through. He might leave it, but I do love that price on DraftKings. Let's head on over to the Atlanta side of this game. Again, like we said, Trae Young is questionable. If he were to sit, Rondo's going to come back in our lives again. Unfortunately, Rondo's 4,100 here. So we would have to consider playing him because he's going to see a pretty good uptick here. He's 4,100 on DraftKings, 4,300 on FanDuel. Played 28 minutes against Utah, which is a horrible matchup. The dude put 19 fantasy points up and shot 0 for 7. So if he hits a few shots, he's going to crush this tag. So it really all depends on where we're going to get Trae Young. I'm going to throw him in this lineup and just consider he's going to sit. If Trae Young plays, you're not going to play Rondo at all. Clint Capella, 8K over on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's sitting at 8,500. Nobody's going to play him because everybody's going to play Vooch. And I still think that's the way to go. I've talked about this in a few other pods. Look at his minutes over the last 4 or 5 games. 27, 30, 30, 30, 30. The monster games he had in the 70s where he was playing 39, 39, 37 minutes. So I'm not going to go there for him. I'd much rather play Vooch. It's going to play more minutes. Great, better matchup. I'm just going to look there. Collins, Same time, I have no problem playing Collins in tournaments. 6,900 on FanDuel, 7,400 on DraftKings. At that price, I think you can look at him. Cam Reddish, just tournaments only, and more so on FanDuel at 4,500. And this is only if Trae Young sits. I don't love it otherwise. But Kevin Huerter, 4,900 on FanDuel. Love him if we get Trae Young out. It's going to shoot a lot more. 5,400 on DraftKings. Again, I have no problem playing him and Rondo together if Trae Young does sit. Let's move over to Milwaukee at Cleveland. Again, Milwaukee on a back-to-back as well. Actually, this is the same game they played last night. Man, this is crazy. 227.5 over-under. Milwaukee favored by 10.5. Larry Nance is questionable, and Kevin Love is out. Same cast of characters, man. Like I said, Giannis, Holiday, Middleton. Talked about it all the time. It all comes down to what they're going to do. I think you can easily fit Giannis into this lineup if you want to. It's pretty easy to fit him in here. We can easily, if we wanted to, we can move Williams around, put Giannis here. You do worry about blow up with Giannis. That is the one concern about playing Giannis against Cleveland. But they held it pretty close yesterday. He ended up putting up a pretty decent game. 64 fantasy points in 33 minutes. Shot 25 times. They don't have anyone to guard that rim. He's going to go at it as much as he wants to. Back-to-back, I worry a little bit. But, if you're going to do a spend-up, he's about as safe as it gets. 11K on DraftKings. 11.2 on FanDuel. So if we get some of this value open up, I think he's a guy you can consider. You just have to worry about that blowout. Drew Holiday, 7,700. 8,100 on FanDuel. Chris Middleton, though, it's a great price on FanDuel. 7,300 on FanDuel. 7,600 on DraftKings. I love this price. Last 3 out of 4 games kind of disappointed. 26, 23, 29, and then that 42. He'll be low owned because of it. And then DiVincenzo had a good game last night. 4,400 on FanDuel is a great price. 5K on DraftKings, no thank you. Put up 37 fantasy points in 28 minutes. Last 2 games, 37, 29. Tournaments only. On FanDuel, I could consider him a cash consideration if we need that value, if we don't have some of these value pieces open up. So consider that. And then Bobby Portis. Always got to put Bobby Portis. I'll stay until I'm blue in the face here. Now, on FanDuel, they priced his butt up where you don't have to consider him. 6,900 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, 5,600. Still, 24 minutes, put up 25 fantasy points. This feels like if Cleveland struggles here, Milwaukee comes out and just smashes, we could see a monster Portis game. Maybe this is a 40 burger out of today, whereas yesterday he only played a few minutes. So I love some Bobby Portis in tournaments here. And that's about it for this team. I wouldn't get too crazy. Over on the Cleveland side, Drummond at 7,900, put up 38 fantasy points in 30 minutes. Did a little bit better than I thought he would, but you're going to play Vooch. You're not going to mess with this too much. So I'm kind of in the same situation. Now he is 6,900 on FanDuel. And if Larry Nance does sit, those minutes are going to be secure. So FanDuel makes an interesting tournament play at 6,900. DraftKings at 7,900. I can get away from it. Or maybe you want to play the double center. Maybe you want to go Vooch and you want to go Drummond. I think that's a possibility to look at. But everything else that I'm kind of looking over here, Garland, Allen, Prince, I'm not super excited about playing any of these guys. I think it's just Drummond for me on FanDuel specifically. Maybe if you want to play some Taurean Prince on FanDuel because he's small forward at 5,200. But overall, I'm not super excited to play any of these guys against Milwaukee. Let's just move on to San Antonio at Houston. We have a 223.5 over under. Houston favored by 1.5. Rudy Gay's probable. LaMarcus Aldridge is out. Dejounte Murray is questionable. Lonnie Walker's out. Nwaba for Houston is questionable. John Wall's questionable. And Oladipo is in. So, got a lot of news in this game. If we do get a Dejounte Murray out, that makes things really interesting on the Spurs side. We're going to get a lot more usage for DeMar DeRozan. Derek White's back in town, and he makes a really interesting play. Keldon Johnson makes an interesting play. So we really got to watch the news here. But the Spurs still have a lot of guys. They can go Devin Vassell. They have Patty Mills. So I'm not super excited when a few guys are out. But it does make some of the pieces a little interesting. Jakob Poeltl, Jakob Poeltl at 5,700 on FanDuel. Jakob Poeltl is 5,800 on DraftKings. Put up 40 fantasy points in 34 minutes. Shot 90% from the field. A lot of those probably putbacks. So I think he's squarely in playing cash games here as well. Even if we wanted to say, let's not risk it with Boucher and let's play Pirtle in this lineup. And then we'll take Giannis out, maybe move some things around here a little bit. But yeah, Pirtle's definitely in play as well on DraftKings. I think FanDuel, again, it's hard. We're playing one center. And the cost consideration when you're playing like a guy like Vooch or like even Drummond at 6,900 just has massive upside. But I would definitely consider putting him in my pool. But these guys are all cheap on DraftKings. It's like I wouldn't shove a bunch of them in, but going up against Houston, like I said, Derek White is only 4,700 on DraftKings. That's a hell of a price, especially if Murray is out. If we got no Murray, White should play 27 fantasy points in 25 minutes. His minutes should slowly creep up. Maybe he hits like 28, 29 minutes if we don't get no Murray, maybe 30. He's only been back a few games, so we have to consider that. But super cheap, no problem pulling him in. Vessel makes always an interesting case if he gets minutes at this price of 3,300 on DraftKings, 30 over on FanDuel. I think he's 3,500. Just a tournament play only. And then Patty Mills, if we'd have no Murray, Mills will get more run off the bench. 3,800 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DraftKings. You give me 25 minutes of Patty Mills, I have no problem there. He's been a 0.89 fantasy point per minute for the season and about a 21% usage rate off the bench. So a guy we'll look at here, Keldon Johnson, again, too cheap. He is 5,300 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DraftKings. He is so up and down. 12 fantasy points, 48, 20, 38. So tournaments only with how inconsistent and how he, his production floats all over the place. But a guy I think that you have to consider playing today. So again, lots of moving parts here. We got to kind of figure out the consideration. But like, and then DeMar DeRozan is too cheap as well. A guy you have to consider. 7,800 on FanDuel, a little more pricey, but on DraftKings, 7,200. So on FanDuel, I look more at Keldon Johnson. I would look more at Jakob Poeltl as in your tournament play, and then maybe some Derek White as my favorite guys over there. On the Houston side, like I said, we know Wood, man, he turned that ankle bad. I don't know if you watched that game, but man, he turned that ankle, and it did not look fun at all. So DeMarcus Cousins is going to be on our lives at 6,300. So there's so many options to go at center today as we go through this that, it's a two-center day. I'm going to say that on DraftKings right now. You're going to want to have two centers. Just going through things and seeing all these stinking things. We're going to get 30-plus minutes out of Boogie here. Boogie Cousins, 30-plus minutes. We're going to see a smash spot. 1.32 fantasy points per minute on the season. His usage will be way up there, 25, 30%, especially if we don't get Wall and it's just Depot and Cousins. Yeah, man. I mean, sorry, Jakob, you're going to get kicked to the curb here. We're putting Boogie and Vooch in our lineup here. But like I'm saying, there's lots of options to go here. You don't even have to play Vooch at this point. You can play two mid-range. If you don't think, there's options to go where you don't have to play Vooch on this. I will say that. But man, Vooch and Cousins upside on this slater is massive. Again, if Wall sits, Oladipo's 8,200 on DraftKings, over on FanDuel 8,200. If John Wall plays 7,300, it's fair price on him on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's 7,500. So a piece that we can look at, but I would say that, they've been the way they've been doing things, maybe he does sit here, but it is Houston favored by 1.5. So he could play. And if he does sit, Eric Gordon at 5,600 on a FanDuel, over on DraftKings, he is 5,800. And again, squarely in play here if Wall sits. I have no problem playing him in cash or tournaments here. So lots of things to choose from this game. We need some news, but man, Boogie Cousins, he's sliding in that with no Wood. This is an easy one for me. We are going to play some Cousins. FanDuel, you're going to have a decent supply of centers. It looks like it's not just going to be a Vooch plug and play, especially in tournaments, because a lot of these guys have some upside here. Let's head on over to Minnesota at OKC. We have a 218 over under, OKC favored by 1. This is another game. I think this is the third one on the slate today that we just saw these play last night. OKC, a lot of injury news in here. On the Minnesota side, still no Culver, questionable for Cat. Herman Gomez is questionable. On the OKC side, Al Horford is questionable. Maladon is questionable. Dort's questionable. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's questionable. Let's start on the Cat side, or I'm on the Minnesota side. If Cat comes back at 9,900, I don't want him. There's way too many centers here. Don't play him. D. Russ is 7,200. I think if Cat did play this game, it's going to hurt D-Russ. It's going to hurt Beasley. It's going to hurt all these guys. All these guys I would not be excited about playing at all. Cat sits. Russell's always interesting, though. 7,200 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. Big upside there. Naz Reid, 6,100. You're just not touching him. Boogie Cousins is 200 more. There's zero reason to go to him. Full fade. And Beasley, if we had no Cousins, Beasley at 6,700 on DraftKings, 6,900 on FanDuel. I don't think that there's a ton of meat here. I don't think you need to go on this team at all. The way Saunders coaches this team, I just don't feel like it's a way you need to go. Over on the OKC side, a lot of moving parts here, a lot. And we're going to have to figure out what's going on, who's going to play, because as we saw last night, if they come down to an 8-man rotation again, it's going to be the same cast of characters, man. Diallo at 5,900, you're just going to shove him right in your damn lineups. If we have no Malanon and we have no SGA, 5,900, just going to play a ton of minutes. There's no reason not to. You saw last night, put up 36 fantasy points in 37 minutes, double-double here. I think you're going to see more of the same again. He was going to the rim with reckless abandon, and you're going to want him. 5,900 on FanDuel, way too cheap. Kendrick Williams as well. 4,200 on DraftKings, 4K on FanDuel. He started and struggled a little bit here. On 36 minutes, put up 20 fantasy points. A lot of that was just Diallo going to the rim. So I prefer him off the bench. If he does start, I think he's in play, but he's not a free square anymore at price. He is priced up a bit. So Roby is an interesting piece, especially if we don't have Al Horford. And it would be Roby and Beasley. Now, Horford shot a ton. He's questionable. That kind of makes me feel like he might sit. And if he does, man, it's hard not to play Roby at 3,700. That's like a lock button play for me. We got a ton of salary left on this lineup here. Like I said, there's a lot of ways to go here. Sorry, Rondo, you're getting the boot. So there's could be a ton of value on the slate. We need a lot of this news to figure it out. But if these guys have an 8-man rotation, they're going to have 8 guys. So if Horford sits, they need SGA to play because I don't think they have 8 guys if he does sit. So if SGA comes back, let's cover this scenario. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander comes back, it's going to hurt Diallo. It's going to hurt Maledon. It's going to hurt all these guys. Then I think if Horford sits, you're more looking at just a few guys here, which I kind of hope. I don't want to just play all OKC guys again tonight. I think Isaiah Roby at 3,900 on FanDuel at a power forward position, which is fantastic. He's not the center. And then over on DraftKings at 3,700, this is a lock button play. If Horford sits and SGA plays, absolutely lock in Horford. Lock in Roby. Just way too cheap. We saw Beasley struggle a little bit last night playing alongside Horford with no SGA. 4 for 14, put up 27 fantasy points, which isn't bad, but at 6,100 it was with the cheap guys like Roby went off last night. So need the news on this, but as of I'm sitting right now, Roby is my favorite play. If no SGA and Al Horford does play, even if Al Horford does play, I like Roby. Don't get me wrong. I think I love Roby and I love Diallo and Kendrick Williams, Horford, Beasley, all those guys are the ones you're going to play. And Roby's going to be my favorite by far. So we'll leave it at that. And then again, if you're not a VIP member, head on over to DFSArmy, use promo code CashCake, save 10%. I will be in there. We'll have cheat sheets up today. Again, rankings. I do my MME percentages for you guys that MME to kind of show you what I'm on. Then you can kind of maybe give you a good starting point. But again, head on over there and we will get you up to date on the news as well. Let's move right along here. Brooklyn at Philly. What a dumpster fire this was with Kevin Durant last night in that situation. Holy crap. The guy comes out, first the game starts, then we get news that he safety protocol COVID, so he's not going to start, which is weird. Then he goes and plays a few minutes. I'm like, okay, that's weird. So his testing came back negative, right? Okay, cool. He's going to play. And then at the third quarter, early in the third quarter, they pull him out. And they're like, no, sorry, you can't play. What the hell is that? So come on, NBA, get your damn crap together, man. It's ridiculous. I don't get it, man. The whole thing is ridiculous to me. But that was just absolutely a mess yesterday. So Durant is out. On the Philly side, Ben Simmons is probable, Embiid is questionable, and Seth Curry is questionable. So again, we're going to need news here as well. The big thing with Durant being out, it's all the Harden and all the Irving here. I'm going to want some of these guys. Now, Harden just did play 40 damn minutes, only shot 8 times. Like I said, he's the facilitator. Look at these assists, man. 12, 14, 11, and 15. Kyrie Irving, 9,400, put up 27 fantasy points. The scoring last night, I believe, was Joe Harris doing a lot of it. Yeah. 19 points, 30 fantasy points. He is squarely in play as well. If we look over here at the pricing on FanDuel, we're looking at, hold on, apologize. Harden is 10.8 and Irving is 9,500. Both great plays. I think Harden's the guy you're going to look for, but both Irving and Harden, both cash viable. I think you can play them together with no Durant. But I think with the money we have here, let me slide this around a little bit. Let's throw in Harden here. Let's take Cole Anthony out. Let's say SGA is going to play here. Let's take Diallo out because SGA is going to play, but we still like some Roby in this lineup. I'm just going to kind of talk through this a little bit. Let's go back here and throw Rondo in here. We think Trey's going to sit. Again, this is just a fun lineup I don't want to see. Okay, so this looks kind of good. We got Rondo in there, and we're able to fit Harden as well. Let's move Harden to the shooting guard position. That way we have guard filled up. So 5,300 in this lineup like this. Again, we'll just keep going through this. But again, it's not rocket science. Durant's out. One of Harden or Irving should probably be in every one of your lineups, honestly, with all the value that we have. So maybe make a rule. You want one of Irving or Harden in every lineup, and I'm cool with playing both. I don't think you have to limit it. Joe Harris, 6,000 on DraftKings is a little expensive, but 5,300 on FanDuel is a really fair price. Jeff Green, 5,100 on FanDuel. Again, I don't mind playing a little bit of him. And we should see Bruce Brown get in there, 4,300 on FanDuel, 3,500 on DraftKings. So if you needed some salary there, he's going to play a lot of minutes. 25 for 22 and 26. I think he's a great play on DraftKings at 3,500. There's just a lot of meat left on the bone there. And with no Durant, we should see him playing close to 25 to 28 minutes. And that's not bad for a guy like Brown. He's not going to be the main guy, but again, 0.82 fantasy points per minute at this price tag makes it very interesting for me. So keep him in mind. Let's head on over to the Philly side. Again, we need the news here because it would open up a ton of things. If Embiid sits, I don't think we're going to need the centers. There's too many good centers in play that can put up 60, 70 burgers that we're not going to go to Howard or Bradley. Should you consider him maybe in your pool? Maybe. But I feel like there's so many good centers, I don't need to go there. And we have value at other places that I don't need to go there. Now, Simmons and Harris are the guys I would look at. And we could look at Shake Milton, too, off the bench at 4,400. I would look at one of Danny Green. I'm sorry, not Danny Green. Danny Green's in play if Curry's out. But, man, you know my thoughts on Danny Green. Harris, 7,600. Ben Simmons at 8,500 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, Simmons is $9K. What's a little pricey for him? Harris is 7,900. So they've priced these guys up. So, but again, I think the overs on Brooklyn have cashed 13 of the last 14 games. Like, Brooklyn does not play defense. They show up, they give up all the points in the world, and they try to just score more than the other team. It's ridiculous. So I think you're going to want some of these guys. No Harden on here. We have a close spread, with Philly favored by 3, 237.5 over under. I think that thing still goes over. Brooklyn is on a back-to-back though, but if Embiid sits, I would want at least one guy in each one of my lineups. And again, Simmons and Harris playing against Brooklyn, I really want some of those guys. And then maybe look at Shake Milton if we don't have any Steph Curry. And again, Danny Green's always a tournament option, but man, I can't can't do it. Let's move on. We got 3 more games here on tap. Golden State at Dallas. Again, we just saw this game a couple days ago. 231.5, not another monster total. Dallas favored by 4. Still no Wiseman, still no Looney. Eric Pascal is questionable. So on the Golden State side, Draymond Green, love that he's power forward eligible. So we can do a few things here. If we didn't want to go Thad Young, well, we can throw Draymond Green right into this lineup, especially if we have no Pascal, because he's going to play a ton of the 5. He looked pretty good. He is 6,700 on FanDuel, so he is priced up on FanDuel. I don't think you have to play him. But last game, played 29 minutes against Dallas, 42 fantasy points. Look at all those assists. And again, he sat the whole fourth quarter. They just beat the brakes off of Dallas. Dallas is a horrible team. So definitely consider him in your cash games if those guys are out. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He would have played 36, 37 minutes if they had to go into the fourth, but they didn't have to. Steve Kerr was able to rest him and Curry. Curry at 9,700 again. No problem going back to Curry at all, especially on FanDuel at 9,600. We have a lot of value around the slate, especially if we have Roby and guys like that. Where definitely love Curry and Oubre, man. Oubre at 6,200. Love him as well. Let's actually just do this. Let's take these guys out on Chicago side, and I have no problem if you want to play Draymond here and then play Oubre. Oubre had one of his best games of the season against Dallas. Again, if there's no Pascal, he's going to play more minutes. Played 36 minutes against Dallas, put up a 60 burger. Shot 14 for 21. The team is horrible defensively, so I don't mind playing Oubre and Green together. Or if you want to get a little funky, like I said, and you want to go Oubre and Thad Young instead of Green, I'm fine with that as well. There's a lot of different options we can go there. And I still think you have enough to get a cheap guard in here. So pretty fun, interesting play. Another guy you can look at is Damian Lee you could throw in here. Again, if we don't have Pascal, they're going to be short. Off the bench, he's going to play 25 minutes. He had a great game last game out, 28 fantasy points in 25 minutes. Super aggressive off the bench. Great tournament play. A lot of people won't be on him. Toscano Anderson would play a lot of minutes. But again, 5,400 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DraftKings, squarely in play. No problem with it. Put up 35 fantasy points in 40 minutes. They're just going to have to play a ton of minutes. And if they do rest guys, he's not going to be one of the ones at the rest. They're going to rest Green and Curry if it got out of control. However, Dallas is favored here. I think Dallas makes some changes. This slate is just wild when it comes to so many value pieces that we have, but also studs that you want. So very interesting slate, a lot of fun, but consider those guys. This is a game you could stack up as well. I think there's games on here that we could just kind of almost cross off. Actually, they're all so good games. I mean, like Chicago and Orlando's good. Brooklyn, Philly, we can get pieces of. Maybe the Toronto-Atlanta game I don't want. Maybe that's the one. It's a lower over-under, and I don't want a ton from it. Maybe Boucher. And then Minnesota, I don't think you need anybody from. Just a couple pieces from OKC. And then focus on this Golden State-Dallas game. A couple of these pieces from Brooklyn and that Chicago-Orlando game. I think we're going to get some good pieces out of that. But again, a lot of guys in play here. I'm sure we'll see a couple of these guys on the cheat sheet. Again, even Wiggins at 6,500 on DraftKings, 6,600 on FanDuel is in play. But we need the Pascal news to see if we're going to get some good plays here, because Oubre is up a 7K on FanDuel. But again, great matchup. He just put a 60 burger up. He's going to play a lot of the 4, so he should get more rebounds and everything else. So thing we want to look at, thing we want to get aggressive on. So love this game. Over on the Dallas side, they got to be tired of losing, man. Luka 11-1 over on DraftKings, 10-7 on FanDuel. Love him as well. No problem playing him. I think there's enough value if you wanted to go 2 cheap centers. You could play a Luka Harden lineup. Would be interesting. So that is in play as well. Porzingis 8,200 on DraftKings, 7,800 on FanDuel. Just tournaments only at that price. I don't think there's a ton of meat left on the bone. Josh Richardson at 4,900 on DraftKings, 4,700 on FanDuel, just tournaments only. I don't think we really need to go a lot of places here. We have a lot of value, I think, especially if Horford sits and we have an Isaiah Roby lock button. I don't think I need to find value anywhere else. I'll find 2 or 3 pieces of value that I love, and Roby is like, if Horford is out, is fantastic chalk. I will eat all of that and go back for seconds. Let's move on to Memphis at the Pelicans. 227 over under, and Pelicans favored by 1.5. Looks like Joval is probable. They need him coming back. Brandon Clark is questionable. Grayson Allen is probable. Memphis getting a few pieces back. Like I said, Pelicans favored by 1.5 here. I don't think this is where we really need to go. It's going to be a studs and scrubs kind of build. Joval again, another center in play. 7,100 on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel. I don't know how much they'll run him out there. That is the big worry. First game back in a while. But we can consider him in tournaments. There's too many. When Boogie's on the slate and Vooch, it's just, all right, fade him. I'm just going to say now, fade him. Don't do it. Don't do it. Morant, 7K on FanDuel. Really good price tag on him. I think it's going to help Joval being out there. So tournament play for me. 7,600 on DraftKings. Again, tournaments play. No one's going to be on him because people are going to build that studs and scrubs lineup. So no one's going to be on him. I don't think it's a team we need to get heavy on. With Joval back, it kind of hurts Tillman. Even if we get Clark out and maybe Tillman does play a little bit, Kyle Anderson 55. We don't need to go here. Pelicans on the other side, they're on a back-to-back. And this is a game I'm not super excited about because we have so many other spots that we can look at, and the pricing's kind of all over the place. Eric Bledsoe, shooting guard on FanDuel at 4,900 is very interesting, though. I do like that price tag. Zion at 8,600 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DraftKings. Again, just doesn't have the massive ceiling like a Vooch does, 35, 48, 38, 41. Not a guy I think you need to get into or play. Always feels safe, but always priced. He never hits the ceiling, so I can't do it. Ingram, again, more FanDuel play for me. It's at 8,100 than his DraftKings. Again, I can't get there at the ceiling, but when you have to play two small forwards, he might fit into an optimal build if he can get you 40 or something. But knowing that I'm like glamoring and trying to force into my lineups. Lonzo Ball, 6,400 on FanDuel. He's priced down to 6K on DraftKings. Again, not where I'm looking to play. So I'm going to go ahead and say Bledsoe only on FanDuel and move on. That's what I'm going to say. Last game of the night. Detroit at the Lakers. 217 over under. Lakers favored by 13.5. Blake Griffin is doubtful. Wayne Ellington's questionable. Okafor's questionable. Derrick Rose is probable. AD and LeBron are probable. And Detroit, the Lakers, man. What a game I don't really want to touch. But Jeremy Grant, 7,100 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he's priced at 7,200. Tournaments only, horrible matchup. I don't think you need to look here at all. DeLon Wright, though, no, we got Rose back, so I don't really like Wright. Wright is 5,300 on FanDuel, though, 5,500 on DraftKings. Tournaments only, though. I think you can put him in tournaments, especially on FanDuel at point guard at that price tag. Josh Jackson at 4,400 is an interesting play with with Griffin being doubtful. Last night played 25 minutes, put up 24 fantasy points. I think he's squarely in play, more so on FanDuel at 4,400. That is a cheap tag on him. I don't know if I want to play 5,200 against the Lakers for Josh Jackson here. So for me, it's kind of all stay away. And maybe some DeLon Wright on FanDuel and Jeremy Grant on FanDuel specifically just because of lineup construction. But nobody I'm trying to force in at all. And on the Lake Show, again, we talked about it all day long. If they both play, there's no reason to play these guys. It's a low over-under. The Lakers are favored by 13.5. I don't want LeBron. Full fade on LeBron. Full fade on James. AD. I don't think you need to go there. I think if you think it blows out and you want to be like stupid crazy, you could look like at a Horton Tucker here or an Alex Caruso maybe. One of these guys that you're just taking like one and, like a 2% deal in 150 or something like that. I don't think you need to go crazy. Maybe some Kuzma or something. But I just, on a slate this large where we have other places in good value, I don't think you need to go there. All these guys are kind of priced down, even on FanDuel. Harold's 5,100, but we don't need a center. Schroeder's 5,200. I don't think you need to go there. So I think it's kind of a fade for me. Don't really think we need to go there. I think we're going to stick around with what we have. And with that, there it is. 9 games, main slate Saturday. February 6th, 2021. I hope this helped you out a little bit, kind of get your mind right on the main slate. Again, if you like this content, like this video, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on that notification bell so you know when I post these. And let's continue to rock. I'm sorry I didn't have prop bet video out yesterday. I had a lot of stuff going on. I didn't get a chance to it, but we are going to have one today. And I'm also going to be moving over to our sister site at SportsBetArmy. I'll put the link in that video that I have today for it. So I'll still be doing the free videos for prop bets, but I'm also going to be putting exclusive VIP prop bets on top of it into the SportsBetArmy channel, and I will put a link as well to that. So with that, again, 9-gamer should be fun. Super Bowl tomorrow. I don't know. Who you got? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you on the flip side. It's Cash Cake. I'm out.